Alrighty. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Gianna Williams. I'm an outreach specialist for the Office of Environmental Quality and Sustainability here with the City of Dallas. In our department, we work on many different environmental topics each day, making strides to help preserve Dallas's natural resources and to encourage everyone to practice beneficial environmental behaviors. Our Earth Day Everyday program is the result of the combined efforts of the Central Library and the Office of Environmental Quality and Sustainability and aims to highlight the many ways we can care for the planet every day of the year. This long-standing partnership between OEQS and the library has produced many informational programs that cover topics such as zero waste, water conservation, stormwater, and the ways that everything ties into one another. This month's EDED is about our world's most precious and vital resource, water. The City of Dallas has many devoted workers that work around the clock to ensure that businesses and residences have access to safe water. But how do they do it? With so many processes and steps involved, it can be hard to keep track. Thankfully, we have an expert here to help us better understand. Jimmy Johnson is an accomplished water utility manager for the City of Dallas with over 28 years of progressive experience spanning water treatment operations, plant maintenance, and regulatory compliance. Mr. Johnson began his career in the maintenance department, transitioned into operations, and ultimately progressed into leadership roles, now overseeing the operations section of the Bachman Water Treatment Plant. Holding a Class A water license, a welding technology certification, and an associate in arts and business, he integrates hands-on technical expertise with strategic leadership to deliver safe, high-quality water to the community. And here he is.
Let's see. Before I begin, I'd like to once again thank Gianna and Elizabeth and Jordan for helping set this up. So quick round of applause. Appreciate it. So during this presentation, we'll be going over some statistics, system layout, so a little bit of background and history on the water department here in Dallas, current treatment technologies, personnel over the different divisions, and how we comply with all the rules and regs that we face. So I understand that the presentation is over reservoirs to tap. Before we get into that, I want to get into the annual rainfall in Texas. Here's a map. If you see way out in West Texas, El Paso area, they only get about 10 inches of rain every year. And as you move east towards the Beaumont and the Piney Woods area, for every 15 miles, you gain an inch of water. That is important because the area that we live in is very densely populated. And we have to pump water back uphill, back west from the east where it's more abundant to where it's more populated. Okay, this map right here shows the source water for DWU, highlighted in blue. We have Lake Ray Roberts, Lake Louisville, and Lake Grapevine right over here. And all the lakes that are in blue, here and here and here, are what Dallas has water rights to. It means we can pull a certain amount of water from each of these lakes. The lakes that are in black, we do not have water rights to. However, because we have pipelines from Lake Chapman that pump all the way over to Lake Louisville, in a roundabout way, we can get some of that water, or that water affects us. The same with Lake Levon right here. We don't have water rights to that, but it will flow downhill into Lake Ray Hubbard. But this branch of the Trinity River will affect the Elm Fork plant and the Bachman Water Treatment Plant. And down here, on this side, where we have the East Side Water Treatment Plant, these three lakes supply that with water. Okay. And Lake Ray Hubbard is the only lake that Dallas has 100% of water rights to. We're the only ones that can pull water from that lake. You can see here, water is being pumped from Lake Fork to Tawakoni, and from Tawakoni east into the east side water treatment plant. And down here, just realized you cannot see my mouse. Down here, we have Lake Palestine. Dallas does have access and water rights to Lake Palestine, but we can't access it yet. They're in the process of building the IPL, the integrated pipeline, that will move water from Lake Palestine back up to Joe Pool. And from there, the next few years, Dallas will be accessing that water. And whether it goes from Joe Pool up to the Bachman water treatment plant, or whether they build a whole nother plant, remains to be seen. Okay, here we have the distribution system, a map of Dallas County. And here you can see Elm Fork water treatment plant, and that's the area in red that they supply water to. Right here is the Bachman water treatment plant, and it's indicated here in blue. And on the far east side, we have the east side water treatment plant, and its area is in yellow. And where you have green, that's a mix of east side and Bachman. And where you have orange here and here, that's a mix of Elm Fork and east side. And this little gray area right in the middle, that is the Park City's water department. It's a small department just down the street from Bachman. They pull off of the same raw water conduit that supplies Bachman. So anytime Bachman shuts that pipeline down for maintenance, it also shuts down the Park City's water treatment plant. And then the city of Dallas has to come in and open up a bypass valve, and we supply that area in gray with Dallas water until the repairs or maintenance is completed and they go back online. Okay, anybody recognize this? Dallas Cowboy Stadium. It has an interior volume of 104 million cubic feet and can hold approximately 778 gallons of water if it was totally full. So at maximum capacity between the three plants, we produce 900 million gallons a day. And that's enough water to fill Cowboy Stadium up in 20 hours and 45 minutes, or 422 times per year at full throttle. That also equates to 328.5 billion gallons of water in 1 year. So I'm going to go into the plants and break it down a little bit. The Bachman Water Treatment Plant, where I work, is the oldest treatment plant. It was constructed in 1929. It's still in service today. There have been other plants in the past, but they were too small and outdated, and they did away with them. We've had multiple expansions in the 30s, right after it was built, 40s, and 2001. Currently, we can do 150 million gallons per day. We have had multiple treatment upgrades throughout the years to comply with ever-changing drinking water regulations. So as technologies improve, our regulations get tighter. We have to come up with new processes, whatnot, to treat the water. Currently at Bachman, we have 54 employees at that plant. Now we'll go into that here in just a few minutes. Elm Fork. That's the one that's way up north in Carrollton. It's the second oldest treatment plant, and it was built in 1952. So remember that date, 1952. They've had multiple expansions over the years, 60s, 80s, and 90s. They've also kept up with the upgrades, and they have 50 positions at that plant. 10 years later, East Side plant was built, 1962, and that's still our largest water treatment plant. They've had multiple expansions over the years also. They also have maintained treatment upgrades to comply with the new technologies and regulations, and they have 71 positions at that plant. Okay, so Bachman being the oldest, right here, built in 1929. We're coming up on our 100th year pretty soon, next few years. It sits on about 30 acres. We can no longer expand that plant and haven't been able to expand that plant for quite some time because the city grew up around us. The same with Elm Fork. The city has pretty much grown up around the Elm Fork plant. They have a little bit of room up there for expansion, but not very much. So Bachman sits on about 30 acres. East side, way out in Sunnyvale, sits on about 250 acres. So they have plenty of room to expand. And it's a good idea that they built that plant way out there because whenever Dallas does expand or can expand, it can only move out eastward, which is helpful because we already have a plant out there that can handle that much growth. Okay, let's see. This area, distribution system area, let's see, serves over 700 square miles. We not only supply water to Dallas, but also 23 customer cities and large customers. There's almost 5,100 miles of water mains in that city, in this city. And that's like driving from Dallas to Chicago 5.5 times. That's quite a bit. And that's just the water mains. That's not sewer mains. That's, just water. Let's get into the distribution system that we're talking about it. Okay. So distribution system is comprised of 3 high service pump stations. Each plant has its own high service pump station at the plant that pumps the water from the clear wells where we store it out into the city. Once it gets into the city, we have 29 booster pump stations that take that water and move it around where the distribution team needs it to go. We also have 21 storage tanks to maintain supply. And then we're going to talk about pressure planes here in just a minute. And over in the distribution division, they have about 50 positions that handle all of that. So pressure planes. Basically, a pressure plane is based on elevation throughout the city. About every 130 feet of elevation starts another pressure plane. And right about, let's see, we'll talk about like right here. Whenever the water comes into the system at its lowest point, there will be a booster pump station that will pump it uphill into a ground storage reservoir or an elevated water tank at the highest point of the pressure plane. That maintains pressure in the system in that little geographical area and a good supply. So at the top of the hill, your pressure is going to be lower because the water is only going to be about however many feet that tank will hold. As you get down to the lowest part of the pressure plane, the water pressure will be higher. You may also have to have at certain points pressure reducing valves so that you don't have too high of a pressure, which may cause pipe breaks, things of that nature. It's based on efficiency, longevity. So try to imagine the city of Dallas as like bowl shaped, with downtown being at the bottom of the bowl. So whenever you take water from the bottom of the bowl and pump it uphill, about every 130 feet that you gain, begins a new pressure plane. And you will not only have storage tanks, but outside of the storage tank, you will have isolation valves that will separate the water from the next pressure plane from running back downhill and increasing the pressure. That way we maintain about 40 to 100 PSI in each pressure plane. Okay. So at the water treatment plants, we have a variety of positions that help make water treatment happen. We have operators, lab personnel, mechanics, electricians, administrators, that sort of thing. Operations, under the operations umbrella, we have operators. Their job is to monitor water quality, conducting tests, operating all the chemical systems, utilizing the SCADA system, which is computers which allow us to control all of the various processes from a central location. Our operators are also hazmat certified, so they can go in confined spaces. They also do process control, which is applying the chemicals, ensuring that the chemicals that they're applying are done in a way that is efficient. They're not wasting a bunch, wasting money, overfeeding, that sort of thing. And there's no experience necessary to become an operator. As long as you have your GED, high school diploma, you come in, and all the training we do is in-house. We will teach you water quality, and you can go to TCQ online and take a test and get certified. And there are many different levels for that. Also under the operations umbrella, we have our laboratory chemists, and they also do process control and monitor water quality. And they work as a system of like checks and balances with the operators. They perform some of the same tests, and they inform the operators if there's a discrepancy or there's an issue with the water that they need to make changes with. They work during the day. At night, it's just the operations staff at the plant, so they will perform the big tests themselves. Not only do the chemists perform the same tests that the operators perform as far as water quality tests, but they also take care of things like testing for manganese and dissolved oxygen, TOCs. They even go out to the lake where we have our pre-sedimentation lake at Bachman and check for zebra mussels and that sort of thing. So one of the other umbrellas that we have at the plant is the maintenance department. So anything that is mechanical in nature, pumps, feed equipment, that sort of thing, the mechanics take care of. And they are also hazmat certified to go in confined spaces and whatnot. We have facilities maintenance team that take care of the grounds and the xeriscaping. Anytime part of the plant is taken offline for maintenance or to be cleaned or inspected, the facilities maintenance team comes in and ensures that everything is cleaned up and that maintenance can be performed. Also under the maintenance umbrella, we have electricians. We have journeyman electricians, we have master electricians. And as soon as power is brought to the plant, it is the electricians that we have that move it to wherever we need it. All the buildings, all the pumps, feed equipment, everything. They maintain all of that. We also have an instrumentation team, tech team, and SCADA programmers. Their job is to monitor online meters, calibrate them, make sure all of our feed equipment is flow pacing or performing as it should. And the SCADA programmer, he brings all of the processes into a central location for their operators to run the plant. SCADA stands for supervisory control and data acquisition. So there's two parts. Yes, there's supervisory control so that operators can operate their plant equipment from one location or locally. But it also serves as data acquisition. So it's like a historian feature. So any kind of feed equipment, filters, you name it at the plant, we can pull trends and build spreadsheets and whatnot off of that. And both of these teams are also hazmat certified. Another branch that we have at the plants is our engineers. And their job is to develop projects, improve processes at the plant, do research, conduct tests, or gather samples and send them off to a certified lab for testing, improving efficiency, keeping up with changes in technology, they also work as a liaison with contractors and vendors and outside labs, inspectors. They are very busy and very important. Another position that we have at the plant is our environmental coordinators. And their job is to not only conduct safety and training and make sure that everything we do is safe, but also taking care of any first aid equipment, inspecting things like fire hydrants, eye washes, AED defibrillators, first aid kit components throughout the plant, our SCBAs. Those are the air tanks and the masks that we need when we go in certain confined spaces when we're doing maintenance in those areas. She takes care of all that, keeps up with all the forms, makes sure that we are in compliance with the areas we need to be in. She is also our environmental coordinator, and she takes care of making sure that everything we do is environmentally safe. We're not having any chemical spills or anything that would impact the environment. They're very knowledgeable of the federal state regulations and constantly doing training on, not only safety, but also environmental things. Okay, now we're going to get into the water treatment train aspect. So what happens to the water when we get it at the plant? So we get our water from the area lakes and rivers. All three plants in Dallas are surface water treatment plants. That means it's lakes and rivers and not, groundwater. So when water first comes to the plant, we call that raw water because it hasn't been touched yet. The first thing that happens is it goes into ozone contactors for disinfection. And if you can see right here, as water comes into the contactor, it has to go up and down these baffles. And that's where we inject our ozone. And we have to create ozone at the plant using liquid oxygen, and which will turn into gas oxygen and run it through a generator, which will zap it with electricity and create ozone. Ozone is very efficient at killing bacteria and little microbes in the water, but it doesn't last very long. So when we inject it here in these first two cells, and we can inject it all across, but these first two cells actually shows it. When we inject it into the water, it goes through diffuser stones, which create tiny bubbles. And as the water is coming down the baffles, it's running into all these bubbles to where it's agitated and has the most contact with the ozone. But by the time the water makes it across the contactor, there's no ozone. There's very little, if any, ozone residual left. From there, it goes into the actual treatment train. Right here at the beginning of the train, we have our rapid mix area, and that's where we inject things like ferric and polymer and lime, and these are our coagulants. And that's where the coagulation process begins. So ferric and polymer are chemicals that we feed that will actually bind onto any suspended solids in the water, any of the dead bacteria that you've killed in the ozone process, that sort of thing. And it actually brings it together and forms what we call a flock particle over time. And the flock particle eventually gets heavy enough that it settles out to the bottom. And that way the top part of the water is the cleanest, and it goes on to the next area. These three, or this zone right here, what we call our flocculation zone. And each flocculator motor, impeller, whatnot, its job is to just gently stir the water and the chemicals to help build that flock particle. From there, if you can see, this is the water level in the ozone contactor, and it's lower here. So it's basically just gravity fed across the entire plant. But once it leaves the flocculation area, it goes into our primary sedimentation basin, which is a large tank, and that allows the majority of the flock particles to settle out right here. Because the volume is so big, the water slows down when it hits there, and it allows the particles to settle out. From the primary sed basins, it goes into our secondary sedimentation basins, and it is slowed down even more because of the large volume that we have. And from there, it is introduced into our biological filtration area. That's where anything that doesn't settle out will come into the filters and is trapped there, so that the water that comes through the filters is the cleanest it'll be, and that's when it goes into the clear well storage. And that's where we inject chlorine gas, ammonia, phosphates for water stabilization, that sort of thing, because we have to have a disinfectant all the way to the farthest reaches of the water distribution system. Chlorine by itself is very strong, but just like ozone, it doesn't last as long. But if we add ammonia to the chlorine, it creates a chloramine, and it has a lot longer lasting power. I'm going to get into some compliance. Okay. DWU adheres to ISO, which is a non-governmental international organization. And basically, it just it's like a universal system, several countries. That way, the language is the same, the numbers are the same, quality is the same. It's a framework kind of thing. Go into not only do we do adhere to water quality, we also adhere to environmental regulations, and we're actually certified environmental. And we also do adhere to ISO health and safety. That improves safety, efficiency, environmental performance, things like that on like a global scale. Okay. Another part of compliance that we do is, let's see, drinking water rules and regulations. So part of that is the EPA, which is the national level. They hand down certain standards and regulations and things like that through Safe Drinking Water Act and the Clean Water Act and things that affect, the water on like a national level. But from there, it goes to the states. And TCQ uses that and creates their own rules and regs and makes it a little bit more stringent. Part of TCQ is the Texas Optimization Program, which is a voluntary program. And it's just a very tight window of standards that we adhere to as far as the finished water coming off of our filters, maintaining a very clean level of water, basically. Another aspect that we follow and comply with and participate in is the AWWA Partnership for Safe Water. They do a lot of the same thing that the TOPS program does, But they also look at things like disinfection, not only as it leaves the plant, but in the distribution system. And that just helps ensure that there is a certain level of quality in the finished water that comes to your house. Okay, so the TOPS program, like I said, it's voluntary. We don't have to do it, but we do it because it helps create the best quality water that we can put out. Right here, we have the Eastside Water Treatment Plant. They just received their 24-year award, 24 consecutive years of maintaining that standard. They are the #1 in the state. #2 in the state is the Bachman Water Treatment Plant, and we just got our 18-year award. And then #5 in the state disappeared on me. I have that slide. The #5 in the state is the Elm Fork Treatment Plant. That one right there. And altogether, maintains good water quality to the city for a long time. And that's pretty much all I have. Are there any questions or anything you need me to go over?
Came into Zoom. I have a question. The treated water from the water treatment plant, when it reaches the household, can this water be used for cooking? Is it safe to boil this water and drink?
Absolutely, it's safe. That's why we comply with the TOPS program and the other programs that we have, so that we have the cleanest, best water out there. The state mandates that we do that. Anytime there's an issue where we are out of compliance, we stop sending the water out until we correct those things. If it's severely out of compliance, we also have to issue, news outlets, boil water notice, that sort of thing. But like I said, we've been maintaining these standards for years and years. And last year, 2024, the Bachman Water Treatment Plant won the best tasting water in Texas. So our water is definitely safe. It's one of the best waters in the state. Yes, sir.
I don't know if you covered it earlier, but I noticed I have a couple of questions about how the water gets to the plant. I know there must be some pumps involved. How much do you know about the actual transportation process?
Yeah, outstanding. So let me back up here. Let's go to this screen. Okay. Nope. I'm not doing it anymore. Hang on a second. There we go. Okay, so I was asked, I don't know if you can hear it on the Zoom meeting, how does the water get from the lakes to the plants? Okay, so we have Lake Ray Roberts will flow downhill into Lake Louisville. Lake Louisville will release water from the dam and it'll flow down the Trinity River. And right here is the Elm Fork plant. There's also a embankment here, California Crossing Dam. And here's the Bachman Water Treatment Plant. And just past the river down here is another embankment called the Fraser Dam. So what happens is we know how much water we need to treat. And that's how much water they will release from whichever lake they need to. It can vary, percentage wise, but that's how much they release downstream to each of these plants. And from there, it's grabbed, through a pipeline and pumped to each of the plants. And that's where the process begins. Elm Fork, the same way. Like I said, they have to pump water from Lake Fork uphill to Tawakoni, and from Tawakoni, it flows, I don't know if you can see it, but there's actually a couple of lines right here. Flows down to the treatment plant over on the east side. But pretty much like I said, we know how much we're going to treat for that day, that time, whatever, and that's how much water they actually move. That way we maintain a good source supply for storage for tomorrow, the next day. We don't just release a bunch downstream, because once it gets past us, we've lost it forever and we can't use it.
But I think you just answered my other question at the end.
Mhm.
Is that to say that some water isn't actually kept in the system at all? I think like rainwater, it just goes into the rivers, doesn't it?
Right.
It just goes through the pipes, and the pipes just go down there, but that doesn't get pumped back, right?
No, if you can see each of these colors, that's a different, what we call a watershed. So anytime that there's rain, it'll go downhill to the Trinity River. So if it rains here, this area will flow down into the lakes and the rivers, and we can capture it that way. This area will flow downhill into Lake Chapman, Sabine watershed right here, Neches watershed right here, and eventually ends up in the lakes.
So you basically intercept it at the lakes, is what happens.
Well, it ends up in the lakes. Like I said, if it, watershed that falls here won't go to the lakes because it's going downhill. So whatever Bachman is pulling from this area right here comes straight to the plant. And we can actually see a change in water quality when it gets to the plant, because turbidity, how much mud and sediment and stuff is in the water will change, and we had to constantly adjust our chemicals, our processes accordingly. Mhm. Yes, ma'am.
So we have a lot of requests for tours. Will y'all be doing that this summer? And who do we contact? The
We
water plants.
luckily, let's see. Luckily, Bachman is the closest plant to downtown. And not only is it the closest, it's also the smallest. So it gives a lot of tours, and it's easy to walk around and see everything in a short time. So anytime you want to have a tour, call me up and we'll make that happen.
So will it be for students as well?
Let's
Like the
see.
recreation centers are contacting you?
I give, or we give tours to students, little kids on up, different engineering groups, just different groups that are just curious and want to learn. This is my email address right here, jimmy.johnson1@dallas.gov. Yeah, just shoot me an email and put you on the calendar.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Two more questions. You mentioned that Lake Ray Hubbard is the only one where the city of Dallas has, or I guess Port Dallas Water Utility
Mhm.
has 100% water rights.
Yes, sir.
Is that to imply that the other lakes, that other like municipalities or something like that pull from the same lake, like,
Yes.
or is it dictate like geographical area that they can be pulled?
It's not so much geographical area, but so when the Corps of Engineers designs and builds a lake, they do it based on population. Like Ray Hubbard's close to Dallas, boom, that's our lake. But like Lake Palestine's way south, so whenever they built that, Dallas was already established and growing and stuff. So Dallas says, hey, we need more water access in the future. We're going to get 50%, 85%, whatever the number is. Like Grapevine, we have to share that one with Park Cities, because that one flows downhill and they pull off the same raw water line we do. The city of Grapevine pulls off of that, that sort of thing. Like Lake Chapman, North Texas, supplies water to Irving that way.
Right.
So they pump it back up to us.
Awesome. And then, are there any like fun wholesale like customers stuff like that, like a water company, a bottled water company, something like that, that's a customer of like Dallas Water? I don't know, or that's that you can disclose. I don't know if you know, or if it's disclosed. I just had a-
Yep, so, like I said, we have 23 wholesale customers, so that could be cities, that could be, Dr. Pepper,
Mhm.
you know, things like that. And, you know, down on the south side of town, there's Ozarka.
Mhm.
So whether they use our water or not, I don't know.
Right.
So. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
So from the central, you were saying that water can be stored before it's released out of the treatment plant?
Yes, ma'am.
You
So
have a determination at all though about that?
I didn't catch that last part.
You make a determination about, you can store in all of them, is that correct? I just wanted to make sure I was understanding
Yeah.
that.
Yes, ma'am. So I don't know if you heard on the Zoom, but she asked if we stored water at the plants and how much, sort of thing. So basically, the plants, once it leaves the filters, section filtration area and goes in our clear well storage, only holds a few million gallons. But because the process of treating water never stops, it's constantly being replenished. And each of the plants has a high service pump station that pulls water from those clear well storages and pumps it out to the distribution system. Like we don't store it for days and days. Like as soon as it's made, it's being pumped out. So. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, I certainly appreciate all of your time and yes, yes, ma'am, go ahead. Which one is safer? I don't know if I want to get into my personal opinions on that. I drink tap water as much as I can. I will say that. The water we make is very safe. I do know that a lot of the bottled water doesn't have any kind of disinfection. So I guess it's a personal preference. If you want to drink bottled water, I'm sure it's safe or not, you know, whatnot, but I like the idea of having a disinfection there. That way my water's safe. Anybody else? All right. Certainly appreciate it, y'all. Mhm.
If you guys didn't sign in, please sign in before you get up.